Welcome, guys. This will be the last talk today. Please settle in. My name is Đikić. I'm an iOS engineer here at Infinum. I will give you a short intro to Xamarin, mostly Xamarin iOS. Just a quick disclaimer. I'm not a Xamarin developer. I used to work with it in the beginning, but I think I know enough to kind of give you a quick overview. Also, if you hear me saying something stupid or something that doesn't make sense, please correct me so that we can all learn something today. Before we dive into Xamarin for iOS, I will give you a quick overview of common approaches when building a mobile application. Basically, there are three most common approaches: native one, hybrid, and Xamarin. I put Xamarin here as a separate thing because I think it has a nice idea, something that is new in this field. Also, I will not compare which solution is better and which is worse because this doesn't make sense. Also, each solution is unique, and everything depends on your needs. So you should always think about this before deciding.
Native is better.
We'll see about it. So let's start with famous native. This is the thing that we in iOS team doing here. But yeah, let's start. Basically, it's also called a silo approach. So if you want to target three major mobile platforms, you would have to use specific vendor tooling for each platform. This means that you need to develop. Yeah, it's old. I have a typo here and here, so don't. Basically, on iOS, you would use Swift, Objective-C, and Xcode. On Android app, you would use Java, Android Studio, Eclipse, and Kotlin.
Or just go with C++ on all three and that's it.
We will come to that also. And yeah, a native approach, I would say the minus here is that you need to manage a team of at least 3 people. You have different languages across the platform. You cannot share anything. And I think it's a bit expensive. Good thing here is that you have native performance. So as good as it gets on certain platform, you get all the support, releases, everything you can imagine. Hybrid approach, also called the black box approach. Basically, you would use CSS, HTML to build UI. You would use JavaScript or ActionScript to kind of build the rest of your application. Here, the downside is that you have a non-standard UI. Basically, you write once, run everywhere. And this is not really nice for the user, of course. You have limited API access to the native stuff. Some examples of these would be PhoneGap and Cordova. Of course, in the recent years, we also have React Native, which has very good speed compared to the others, but there's also some issues with it on specific use cases which will kind of give you really hard time. And also, you're depending on them to do the bindings for all the stuff that you might need in your day-to-day work. And the thing that we'll talk about the most is Xamarin approach. I call this a unique approach. As you can see, you have one language, C# or F#. You can share a business logic, but you still need to develop UI, native UI for all platforms. So that means on iOS, you need to have a view controller. On Android, you have activity. So each platform has its own specific stuff. A good thing here is that you can reuse your business logic, and this can be in range from maybe, I don't know, 10% to 80%, depends on how much your application is UI heavy. Maybe the downside is that you still need people that understand specifics of each platform, because all the customers love good UI, and it's always a goal kind of to create it as good as it gets. With Xamarin, you have 100% access to the native API. and you have one-to-one binding. So that if something is called UAV controller, the naming will be exactly the same on Xamarin using C#. There could be a small differences because of the naming conventions in Objective-C and C#, but it's a kind of small barrier to pass. Performance here is equal to native, because in the end you would get ARM binary that you will submit to App Store. But I will talk about a bit later about this.
There is a small difference because of Xamarin needs to do dynamic calls always.
Actually, no.
I think it does.
It's compiled ahead of time, I would say.
Yes, but it's dynamic method calling, so.
I think that the output file is provided with the.
Yeah, I think it's that. Okay,
Talked
let's
about
discuss.
this
Yeah.
a week ago with the guy who does the debugger for them. So.
Okay.
Check
Yeah. But one thing to note is that Xamarin is not just for iOS. Xamarin is, I would say, a platform which gives you a wide range of stuff that you can do with it. You have a cloud for testing and lots of other stuff that we don't have the time to go today, but just so you can keep in mind and you can Google if you want to know more. What you get with Xamarin, as I talked about before, you get a single language, be it a C# or F#. You can do everything with F#. You get a class library, runtime that works across all platforms, complete binding, that's really important for underlying platform, and the thing that is nice, in my opinion, is the ability to directly invoke native code, be it Objective-C, Java, C, C++, or Swift. You get a huge .NET base class library and powerful IDE. This ability to directly invoke native code is a good thing because then you can use third-party libraries without not too much of a hassle. Also, base class library is, I would say, battle tested and proved. It's a kind of set of utilities that you would use in your day-to-day development, be it for networking, serializing, and everything that you imagine. When I say powerful IDE, you can use Visual Studio or Xamarin Studio. It depends, are you on the Windows or on a Mac. And I would say that as much as I love Xcode, I think it's a piece of shit, so I think Visual Studio it's much better for developing. And the thing that will be probably most interesting for you is how does Xamarin work? Basically, Xamarin is built on top of Mono, which is open source .NET framework. Mono is, I would say, more than 10 years old, so I think it's pretty mature. And this is really powerful stuff because it can really be run on nearly every imaginable platform that you can think of. It's really nice stuff.
Except Microsoft.
Except Microsoft. How it works? Well, through usage of platform invoke service. This is a kind of a graph how it works. It's basically for Windows, but I will explain a bit stuff. For the C# to run, you need a CLR. CLR is Common Language Runtime. It's a thin layer on which C# sits. And it's called managed because it will give you a certain security, like for memory management, threads, and stuff. While unmanaged code, here is DLL. In our case, this would be static libraries that we are trying to access on iOS world. What else? Let me see. Okay. C# is kind of compiled to the intermediate language, while the unmanaged code is compiled to machine code. And to access them, you need this platform invoke service. Also, I think that Apple is doing something similar with Swift. I couldn't find the information, but as you all know, UIKit is mostly built with Objective-C. So when you're doing something with Swift, you kind of need to import Objective-C runtime, and you need to have some kind of wrappers around it so that you're able to kind of call it. And I'm pretty sure about this. I couldn't find the info, but I'm sure I read somewhere an article where they were explaining how they are incorporating Objective-C runtime with Swift if you use any part of Objective-C code. How it works, platform invoke. Basically, it will read your header files, C, Objective-C or Swift, and it will map them to C#. This is called marshalling. Marshalling is very similar to serialization. Basically, it's a process of transforming a memory representation of an object to a data format that is suitable for transfer across the boundary from unmanaged to managed space. Then it will compile your .m files to object files and link them into static or dynamic libraries. These will be frameworks recently in the iOS world. Then it will embed those libraries into .NET project, and then it will generate C# wrappers to kind of expose it to the C# world. When I talk about the native performance, so you need to have .NET runtime, your C#, your bindings, and it will be performed ahead of time compilation to produce an ARM binary, which is then submitted to the App Store. As I said before, this binary is a little bigger than the one that you will get when using Xcode because you need .NET runtime. Yeah, and as I said before, I think Apple is doing something similar with Swift. Possible issues. Binding of third-party libraries. So Xamarin has a Xamarin store, which I would say is similar to CocoaPods. There you can browse libraries, open source or not, that you want to include in your project. This is all good. They're adding new libraries each day. But if you want to have something specific, some library that is still not bind, then you need to bind it yourself. This process is not so complicated, but it will take some time, of course, and you need to know how stuff works. So the first time you do it, it will probably take you more time than later. But once you get used to it, basically you can bind everything. It's really powerful stuff. Memory management. Lambdas plus garbage collection plus marshalling. This could be the root of some issues. Lambdas are anonymous functions or closures in Swift or blocks in Objective-C. As you all know, C# is garbage collected and it runs on top of CLR. So basically, and we need marshalling to kind of go down to the native unmanaged code. And there could lie a problem if you are not careful. But this can also be said about Swift and Objective-C. If you're not careful, you can introduce retain cycles in block really easily. So, yeah. And you also should have in mind that C# classes that you work with, they pretend to be real classes, but they're just wrappers. So you need to kind of think about this approach while doing something with this stuff. How to start? Well, it's pretty simple. These are the possible solutions, I would say. On Mac, you can use Xamarin Studio to build both UI and the code. They have both the designer. For storyboards, you can do it. It's pretty much the same as you would do in Xcode. It's a little bit different, but the same. Or you could use Xamarin Studio to kind of code and then do your UI in the Xcode, which will be automatically transferred to Xamarin Studio. On the Windows side, you can use either Visual Studio or, again, Xamarin Studio. The only thing that you need is Mac for building. This is not about technical restriction. It's more about, as Xamarin is coming from the open source community, they want to honor the Apple policy, which clearly states that if you want to put something on the App Store, you need the Mac to build it, if I'm right. And you can get the installer on the Xamarin page, and it will install everything you need. From Xamarin Studio, all the SDKs that you need, so it's pretty much, the installation is painless. How does it feel? Well, as this is the iOS talk, I will only show you the view controller. As you can see, it looks very similar to Swift. We have some similar keywords, and you all agree that this looks like view controller. It doesn't have any magic behind it. And this will be it. It was just kind of a short, quick overview. And now please fire the questions so that we can settle this once and for all.
So, what would you say? Is it better to learn C# or Swift if you're aiming for for iOS development?
For iOS development,
Yeah, what's a better bet?
well, you still need to. I don't think the language is such an issue now because Swift has a lot of concepts from C#. C# is a modern language after all. Objective-C was not so modern language, and it's really different. So this will give you a hard time. But if you only plan to do iOS development and nothing else, then of course, by all means, learn Swift. But I mean, as I said before, when you learn Swift, I think you need, I would say, a month before you can be productive, or two in C#. So it's easy switch. I think the hardest thing is to kind of learn the platform-specific APIs, like UIKit and all the stuff that goes with it.
So if I had some experience with C# and then I went to Swift, so if you had a choice, what would you choose from these two?
To build only
To be competitive on a programmer market. And you love Apple, so.
then I would go with Swift probably. But as I said, you will know C#. It's not such a big deal. Yeah.
So if you're developing native apps on Xamarin for iOS, you can use .NET libraries, the libraries written in Objective-C and Swift, and Xamarin ones.
There is no Xamarin. Basically, you can use base class libraries, which is created to be. You can run it on Linux and everywhere, which is kind of. It's not the same as the one on .NET side. It's a little. Some stuff are removed, which is specific for Windows. But on iOS side, yeah. Example, you can use C# string class, or you can use NS string.
Now I'm talking about third-party libraries. So
Yeah, you can use anything. Basically, you can use platform invoke to access Objective-C, C++, and Java. But you cannot. I don't think you can use Java stuff in iOS.
Maybe you can use third-party that conform to base class library.
Yeah.
Nothing
So
else, because that's the like sub
Yeah.
set that is being used.
Yeah, maybe I got it wrong.
I mean, just to guess.
Yeah.
So you can use Cocoa Pods or something like that.
I'm not sure that you can use Cocoa Pods, but I mean Cocoa Pods are only dependency manager. You can take the library, check if the library is in the Xamarin store. If not, then create a binding.
CocoaPods probably won't be useful because CocoaPods does
Modification
change a lot of in the Xcode project. So.
Yeah. But as I said, it doesn't make sense because it's just a dependency manager. It doesn't have anything to do.
Because when you're developing Android apps,
Okay.
you can use both jars, which are
Okay.
Java libraries. You can use the whole NuGet package from .NET framework.
Yeah. Okay. But this is okay. Yeah. You can use NuGet packages because this is native for .NET, and you can use jar on Android side because it's Java. But this is the same thing on iOS. But on iOS side, you cannot use. You can use Nugget on iOS side plus custom libraries that you can pull from GitHub and create a bind for those.
Be perfectly honest.
Okay.
Don't be diplomatic.
Okay.
Would you ever recommend Xamarin for professional work?
Yes, definitely.
Why?
You just had a presentation.
Because I mean, I think their idea is really powerful, and I kind of hoping that in the future, the language in which you want to code will not be such a big factor, so you can write anything you want. And the other thing is, in the previous company that I worked, they're like a big company, and they had a lot of successful projects built from scratch with Xamarin. And the app is super performant, and they saved a shitload of money doing it. Because they already had C# developers, which then learned what they need to kind of do a nice UI and everything. And
would you recommend to companies that don't have C# developers to start with Xamarin?
it all depends on the app, I would say. I mean, for some stuff it makes sense, for some it doesn't. But as I said, it's very close to what you consider native. So I don't see a reason why not.
You said that you have to make specific UI for each platform.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's correct. So you are using specific API for each platforms
Okay.
in C#.
Yes.
And how would you organize your code so that you can do your business logic in one place and everything else?
Very good question. Well, if you're not dumb, and nobody is, then you would Google it a bit, and then you will see that you need something that Daniel talked about. So you need some good pattern that will kind of separate the UI from the business logic. If I had to build something with Xamarin now, I would first go with Viper for a week, and I would try to do the most hardest thing in project with Viper. And if this pans out okay, I would continue with the Viper. If not, I would maybe fall back to the MVA and Cross. But the reason I think the Viper will work, because on Android, the guys are using the MVP. Am I right? MVP, yeah? Android, sorry. MVP, and MVP model presenter is really similar to Viper. So I think it could work. There will be some issues, I would say, in presenter, because as we talked about before, let's say you want to use PhotoSkit, then you need to kind of implement, and you need only kind of, you need to implement the PhotoSkit, which is UI basically inside the presenter. And this is not shareable to other platforms. But I think it's kind of small issue.
Given that Swift is becoming a first-class citizen of the Android platform,
Okay.
Android support has been merged into the master branch, so with 3.0 it will be available. And that Windows Phone is whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sorry. Would it make more sense to just create the shared code in Swift and use that for Android development, since you can use it on the back end as well? So let's fast forward, I don't know, half a year. Would you recommend using Swift or Xamarin with C#?
I think this would, yeah, okay, this could work, but I'm kind of concerned about the tooling issues. Because I don't think you can build Android app inside of the Xcode.
Of course not.
But it's much easier if you have kind of one IDE where all the stuff happens. If you need to switch, I'm kind of worried about productivity. If you have to switch between two kind of IDEs, if you know all the shortcuts, I think, yeah, you can set everything up, but I'm still not.
I doubt you'll be switching, because you'll have different people doing the Android UI and the iOS UI.
Ah, okay, you mean only business logic, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is just business logic.
Well, it's the same thing like this, it's just different language.
Yeah.
It's not C# it's Swift. So
Yeah, but you don't
it
have
should
a
work
different
better
platform
because
like Xamarin.
It should work better because one platform is completely in Swift and the other one is going there.
Yeah, let's see. I really don't know. Possibly, yeah.
Maybe it could be useful for just a quick prototyping of an app. Like if you want to you have an app with 3 screens, you just write the shared logic in C# and just do those 3 screens quickly in storyboards, XML layout, and whatever.
Yeah, you can do that.
Use it for prototyping. I mean, that's my best guess.
Yeah, you can do something like that. Makes sense. I don't know how Swift on Android will pan out in the future, but yeah, I'm interested to see.
I asked the same question to an Xamarin developer, like I said.
Okay, and what did he say? Can you share with us?
He didn't seem happy. He actually said that they do expect quite a big impact.
Okay, but I also think if you look at the global picture, there are so many more C# developers, and Microsoft bought Xamarin. Microsoft has a shitload of money, and
and a very bad reputation. So.
Bad reputation, but in the recent years, I'm really kind of surprised about the stuff that they are changing. I think they're good. They're doing the good stuff. While on the other hand, I think that Apple is doing shitty stuff.
It's easy to do good stuff when you have to do good stuff. So.
Okay, but I mean.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
I think Apple is kind of lazy in the.
That's it.